I'm Shiva, and this is the November 2012 episode of AnimeCons TV. This month, we talk about off-season planning for conventions. Patrick D and I speak about meeting guests for the first time. And we interview anime columnist Mike Toole.
One of the things a lot of people ask about is what do they do when the convention season slows down and there's not as many conventions to go to? So we're just going to go through some of the ideas of things to do with your time to make sure you keep active with conventions even when there aren't a lot going on. I think one of the first things that a lot of people think of is the slow season's a good time to start a big cosplay project. If you know you've got something really big you want to work on, start early. And the slow season's when you're going to get a lot of time done on it.
It is a good time, and a great time. What you should do is you should, figure out your budget for that cosplay. Figure out where you can find stuff, and don't have to purchase everything. Just plan it out to as fine detail as you can, and that way, when you get going, maybe like a month later, you're really going to get going, get it done, and then you might have to add more time for anything that pops up, like last-minute costumes. So it's good to start when you can, when you have lag time.
Yeah. Itemizing is one of the best things you can do for a costume. Another thing is if you're a panelist, the slow season's a good time to either go back, rework some of the panels you've done in the past, say what worked, what didn't, tweak it a little, improve it so you know you can present it again, or just start brainstorming other ideas. Say, hey, I want to do a panel on something else, and start planning that out. And one of the other things too is start saving for the busy season. We all talk about how during the busy season it seems like there's a convention every weekend and you want to go to all of them. Starting to plan out how you're going to budget all of them is super vital. And
it is crucial because it's also, I mean, not saying that everyone, celebrates Christmas, but, Christmas hits your budget too. So, you have to really, mind the pennies and figure out, okay, all this present goes out, maybe I should put like $5 away every week or something like that, and then go, and then, after seasons, depending on holidays or birthdays, throw in a little more. It's really up to you and your personal ideal, but you have to remember the three major costs is hotel, travel, and the registration of the convention. You always keep those the forefront of what you're saving, and then everything is, superfluous, but make sure you have those money.
By the same token, most cons, if you pre-register, it's cheaper. So if you do that during the slower months well in advance, you save money overall too. So it's one of the reasons and that segues right into the next thing, is start doing your research for the cons you want to do. Pay attention to their websites. That's when they're going to announce things like registration for Artist Alley, panel requests, masquerade, everything like that. So it's a really good time, even if the convention seems like it's months and months away. Pay attention to the website because that's how they're going to bring all that info to you. Facebook, Twitter. Conventions have a million different ways to get information out to you, and they should be using that to just really get that information out to you, and you can plan.
And on the same hand, you may research cons you never heard of by going to AnimeCons.com. But no, it's true. You can, we have this site so you can find out the cons that you want to, possibly look out, and that helps you research. We have little devices on there too. If you make an account profile, you can say what cons you're going to, and maybe be able to communicate with new people and help organize that way as well.
And finally, just with that tool, it's a great way to look at what conventions you want to go to in one area. Say you live in the Northeast and want to go to the West Coast for a convention. That you can start looking and say, oh, what cons are in Austin, Texas? What cons are in Seattle, Washington? Because I want to go visit there. Researching that's going to help you, and once again, the sooner you know, the sooner you can start budgeting. So yeah, just because the slow season hits doesn't mean you can't take conventions off your mind.
Nor should you.
When you're new to conventions, meeting a guest for the first time can be a bit awkward. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about ways to do that.
And kind of what to expect if
Yes.
it's your first time. When you go to a convention, there's several different ways to actually meet some of the guests that will be joining you. And it varies convention to convention, but there's a few things that are kind of similar across all of them. And one of those is most guests will have either a panel or maybe like a meet and greet kind of session where they're talking to the guests directly.
Yeah, and this is a great place. This is where you should get your questions answered, hopefully, depending on the lines. Because if they're a popular guest, it may be difficult getting into the panel, let alone ask a question. But hopefully somebody else will have your question and you'll be there and you'll still learn a lot from all the questions.
And usually you can take pictures of the guests. I mean, you're sitting in an audience, they're usually at the front of the room, so you have a little bit more freedom to do that. And especially, you know, it's a little impersonal, but if you're nervous about, you know, meeting somebody one-on-one, it's a great opportunity to actually, you know, ask them a question.
Yeah, and if you don't mind speaking in front of a group, you can be up there asking a question, but if you're shy, you can always just sit there and enjoy.
The other thing that happens a lot is they will have autograph sessions where you can actually meet the guests one-on-one and maybe get something that you have or signed.
Yeah, and now you want to check the rules on autograph sessions before you get to the convention. Some conventions, especially the large ones, will have ticketing systems. The smaller ones, when you're at a few hundred people, it's usually just free for all.
And it kind of depends on the genre of convention here. I feel like when you go to an anime convention and you're talking about voice actors, usually, you know, autographs tend to be free. You usually have a little bit more time. If you're going to a sci-fi convention and you have some of the big name guests like TV actors, a lot of times they're going to charge you for an autograph and you might be a little more limited with the interaction you can have with the guest.
Yeah, and the amount they charge depends on who the guest is. If you're looking at somebody who's in one episode of Star Trek, maybe it's $25. But if you're looking for William Shatner, it's over $100.
Yeah, so it definitely, their name recognition has some value on that.
And it's helpful to bring something appropriate. Make sure when you bring, if you're bringing a DVD, make sure that the actor you're having sign it was actually in the show. And I've actually seen this happen where somebody brings something that somebody wasn't in, and it just creates a really awkward situation. If you don't have anything, program guides work great.
You carrying them around anyway. I mean, they're appropriate for the convention. Almost every guest will sign a program guide or a flyer. If you also, a lot of times guests will actually sell headshots or maybe a poster from their series at the table where they're signing them. So that might be an option too if you don't mind spending a few extra dollars for those.
But don't ask them to sign body parts.
No, no boob signing, none of that.
Many guests won't for a variety of reasons. So just
don't embarrass yourself.
Don't.
There also could be rules about taking photos with the guests. Sometimes when you go get the autograph, you might feel like, oh, can I just have a quick photo with you? Some might be more accommodating about that, but others have strict rules against it.
Yeah, and also at the autograph session, keep in mind that there's people behind you who are also waiting. And this is your big chance to meet them, but really you get less than a minute. And you can't stand there and take up everybody's time because they're fans just like you.
Yep, and there might be a limited amount of time they have to sign autographs. So if you're in the back of the line and they haven't, somebody's hogging up the time, they don't get to all those people.
Now, when you're around the convention, you may also run into guests just milling about. And that's a great time to go up and talk to them.
That's a lot of fun. And some guests are better at this than others.
Yes.
Some really enjoy kind of hanging out at the convention, maybe hanging out in the lobby and interacting with the guests, where others are maybe less comfortable with that and they'll tend to stay in their hotel room and only go around to their assigned events.
Yeah, but if you see them and they're just hanging out and enjoying something, just go right up to them. If they're eating, or if they're busy trying to get somewhere, it's probably best to leave them alone.
Right, but if they're hanging out talking, you can kind of tell. Just go up and start a conversation.
Just don't be Captain Linger and stay longer than you should.
So once you know that there are going to be guests there and you've decided you want to meet them, it kind of helps to plan ahead.
Yeah.
One of the things you want to do is do some of your research. You know, find out when you're going to a convention who's going to be there and kind of what events they're going to be participating in. Are they doing panels? Are they doing autograph sessions? What are they going to be available for?
Yeah, and also look up look in the program guide, read their bios, or go and look online and see what credits they have. You may not realize until you get home, wait, that was the guy that did this voice? And so, yeah, definitely look that up.
And it's happened to me, even with famous actors. I didn't realize they were in other things. Other things you want to do, come up with questions in advance. You know, you can also research some of the common questions they've had a million times that, you know, if you ask it, everyone's going to groan and be like, why is they asking this again? But it gives you some time to kind of come up with something really interesting to say.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people say, oh, they don't have a question. So they'll say, oh, can you do this line from this show? Or can I have a hug? Those are groaners. I mean...
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you're meeting them one-on-one, I guess, if you really want to say a hug, or I love you so much, or you're so awesome. But if you're doing a big panel event, nobody wants to hear 50 people go up and say, I love you, you're awesome. They know they're loved. The other thing you want to do is familiarize yourself with what the schedule is for what they're going to be at and where it's located, because a lot of times there is a long wait, especially if they're a popular guest. You want to get there early and you want to know where you're going if you want to get in.
And yeah, go ahead.
Well, the other thing you want to keep in mind is you don't want to have too high of an expectation for this interaction. Sometimes people, you know, they may have kind of a hero worship for a certain individual, and then they meet them and they get disappointed. Yeah,
especially if they're signing, if they get a huge autograph line, they may have to get through it by the deadline, so they can't stand there or sit there and chat with you for 15 minutes and be your best buddy. I mean, everybody wants that. So.
You kind of have to have a low expectation almost. You go, I'm really excited just to meet them. If you start out with that and maybe prepare one comment that you want to say to them, you'll be great. And some people will surprise you with how friendly and awesome they are. We've all had that experience. And then when somebody's not really that into it, well, you're not disappointed because that's all you expected to get.
Yeah. No, if you're nervous, that's fine. Everybody's nervous meeting an idol or talking with people for the first time. So.
And they expect that. And sometimes the best thing to say is, I'm really nervous. And you know, a lot of times they're used to that. They'll put you right at ease, be like, don't even worry about it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
The other thing you want to do is, if you do get nervous, you might want to write down the question you want to ask. You don't want to get in that line and have it all in your head, and then the microphone gets up to you and you go, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. And if you are too nervous to ask the question, if you have a friend, you can say, here, ask this.
Or even the guy sitting next to you. They might not have any problem talking in front of people, but they just don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can make friends that way. The other thing you want to do is, if you're too nervous to meet them one-on-one, again, try the larger events, because if you don't want to participate, you can sit back and enjoy seeing them up close, in person, but you don't physically have the pressure of having to talk to them directly.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, even if you end up being disappointed with the guest, just say thank you, be nice and courteous, and
yep, thank you for your time, and that's all you really need to do, and you still get to meet them. You know, that's really the big thing. And also remember, they're people too. They have bad days. They get grouchy. They get hungry. They, you know, and they're also can be wicked friendly and really nice and totally excited to meet you. You know, even though they don't know you from Adam. You know, you'll be totally surprised. They're just regular people like everybody else.
And hopefully it goes well for you. You meet your idol and have fun.
Yeah, meet some really cool people.
We're here with Mike Toole, columnist writer for Anime News Network and just general anime enthusiast writer.
That's me.
Yep, okay. And we're just going to talk for a few minutes about some of your convention experiences and life for you as you've been doing cons for a while.
First and foremost, the question we ask everyone, what was your first convention?
My first anime convention was Anime East 1995 in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I had to take the Amtrak train down, like a 7 or 8 hour ride from college in Amherst, Massachusetts. And the convention was about 800 attendees. I thought it was huge. I thought it was enormous. It was the biggest thing I had ever seen. And I had a great time, and I've been coming to cons ever since then.
Okay. Now, you are much more involved in writing about anime and everything, and you present a lot of unusual content, such as Dubs That Time Forgot.
Mm-hmm.
What are some events that you like to see at cons or would like to see more people do?
Well, what I like to see at cons is similar to the stuff I like to present. I think the medium of Japanese animation and comics is just incredibly broad and incredibly diverse, and there's always new things to be discovered. So I want to see that stuff unearthed. Like there was a panel at this Otakon called Unusual Manga Genres, where I actually discovered that there is a manga about Warren Buffett.
I was sitting there, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, I like stuff like that. I like programming that actually involves Japanese artists and animators come from Japan, and this is something that I feel is sadly neglected. You have the talented people that actually create the animation we love show up, and they're in panel rooms in front of about 70 or 80 people. If you're a serious fan and student of animation, it's a great opportunity, but at the same time, I wish more people would show for these folks.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have, going to cons for so long, do you have like a favorite memory or just kind of a crowning moment of awesome that just nothing else is kind of topped, or just a favorite story perhaps? Mm-hmm. From a convention?
Well, I've been an entertainment critic and a writer for over a decade, and most people see me in that light. But my first Otakon was Otakon '98. I attended as press for the first time at any convention, so I was a dumb, stupid 22-year-old running around being dumb and stupid. Got to meet the people behind the dub of Evangelion and Matt Greenfield from ADV Films. I thought this was the coolest thing in the whole world. The thing is, at the time, my girlfriend, now wife, was really into cosplay, and she was like, listen, I'm not sending you down there without a costume. And so she sewed me a jumpsuit with padding to make me look all roly-poly, and a great big round paper mache head, made it all blue, and I cosplayed as Doraemon. I entered the masquerade, and I just did it for fun, and I got a good little response. I shuffled out there, just went up to the mic and said, meow. And then I won the masquerade.
Wow.
Yeah, I hit the nostalgia chord in the judges. One of the judges was the late Jeff Thompson, who used to work for The Right Stuff, and yeah, he said it's like we went backstage and we all looked at each other and we just knew. And that's something I like to surprise people with every once in a while. It was just like at this huge convention where there's so many amazing costumes and such competition to be the best. It's like, yeah, well, over a decade ago, I won that masquerade.
And now you often really kind of engage people just from all parts of the fandom. Mm-hmm. What do you really like to see? Like, how do you like to engage people? Like, what is the questions you like to ask of the fans or the creators?
Well, what I like to see from fans is I just want them to interact. I come to conventions so the act of watching anime stops being a passive thing and it's active. Really what conventions are about meeting and interacting with people, and that's what I want from fans, and I get a lot of that at my panels, and a lot of the people who have come to see my panels for years have gone on and now do their panels of their own, and that's fantastic. In terms of creators, I just like to pick their brains. I'm curious about things like, I'll ask an animator, just like, was this your first career choice when you were a kid? Did you know that you wanted to be an animator? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any words of advice for people who have been going to conventions for a while, or people who are just starting to go?
Really, every convention I've gone to, with very few exceptions, just has so much to offer continuously, and really just take in as much of it as you possibly can. Meet new people, go to panels, go to concerts. This was actually something that just occurred to me. You and I were just at the Aya Hirano concert, mm-hmm. and it was a great concert. She had a backing band, this big stage set, and it just came off fantastic. And I just sat there thinking, man, the 50 or 60 bucks that it costs to get into a convention like this, usually that's how much you pay just to see a concert like that. So make the most of that. Meet other fans, discover new anime and manga, go to panels, just learn things, and have a great time.
All right, and finally, if people want to find more about what you're up to, what's the best way for them to find out?
Well, I have a bi-weekly column at AnimeNewsNetwork.com called the Mike Toole Show, where I mostly run down odd genres, odd examples, and history of anime and manga. That's really the best way to do it. I also have an occasional on-screen program there. Actually, the Dubs That Time Forgot segment that I ran here last year, I just finished post-production on that and turned it in, so that's going to be on AnimeNewsNetwork.com very soon.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thanks, Doug.
Hi, my name is Summer, or Summer Otaku, if you find me on Twitter. I'm from Westerly, Rhode Island. I recently attended 2 conventions I wanted to give you the rundown on. New York Comic Con in New York and another AnimeCon, which is up in New Hampshire. They were really different in that New York Comic Con was incredibly packed in the middle of the city and had a diverse range of things they covered, from comics to games to TV shows to anime, whereas AAC was mostly just anime. I had a pretty amazing time at both, but I found AAC to be much more relaxing just because the sheer number of people at New York Comic Con that you had to push through to try to get at a panel or a signing was practically enough to induce a panic attack. No lie, it was crazy. And quick tip, if you do go to a con, you should probably make sure and see what the policy is on room clearing, because can you go to a panel first thing in the morning and camp out there till the super popular thing in the afternoon? Or will you be forced out of the room into the end of the line for the next panel? Because that happened a lot at New York Comic Con. People just went first thing in the morning, and so if you showed up at a panel that started at 5 at 3, you'd find that was already filled by people who showed up at like 8 in the morning. Also check to see if a popular event or signing is giving out tickets, and then arrive early to get said tickets, because those are fast at a very large con. Also, if you go to a smaller con like AAC, they had pumpkin painting, which ended up being super fun and actually free. Any other tips? You should probably bring a water bottle and some either Crystal Light or Mio, and you will get lots of free drinks via water fountain that way, and that really saved my wallet at New York Comic Con. Anyway, that's it. Thanks a lot for the awesome podcast, and enjoy those cons. Thanks.
And it's that time again, voicemails. And, you know, as you should know, just keep those voicemails coming. But let's hear this voicemail right now.
Hi, AnimeCons. This is Kmon from Lancaster, Ohio. You know, this has been a great episode this week. Turns out you've actually gained a lot more to look forward to as far as out-of-town conventions, which someday I'm hoping I will be able to if I have the finances, which I would take a long time to do that. By the way, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work, and can't wait to see you next episode. Can't wait to see the next one, so thanks. Bye.
Well, here we are working on the next one. Actually, to hit your comments here first, if you say, you know, there's certain things that you want to know about, say them in the voicemail. You know, we can actually make segments of it. We did that with Movie Phone Guy on Con Plague, so tell us about that. And also, if you're worried about, you know, if you have the finances, we just mentioned, you know, in the off-season, try to budget a bit, and you probably can go to these cons. And thank you so much. This is a little joy for us. We, you know, put our little effort into this, and we put it out there, and you guys enjoy it, and you call in. So remember, voicemails, you can call in at 762-ADEQUATE, that's 762-233-7828. Also, go to our sites, animecons.com or fancons.com, and all our other social medias, which will be linked at the bottom. And see you next month.
I'm Shiva, and this is the November episode of AnimeCons.com.
AnimeCons TV.
Oh God. That's what I do when I don't have a script.
And now we have the 2012.